A masterpiece by Mark Rothko. This hangs in chapel in Texas that features many of his works. Looking at this painting creates in my mind many questions, as I'm sure it does to you. When I discovered this painting many months ago, I wondered who this audacious painter was, and found he was actually very fascinating personality with an exceptional portfolio. I've researched a few books and many other sources on the subject of Mark Rothko, and in the process I've come across many of his interesting works. Compelling force of his works were such that I was motivated to share with you. So today I would like to do just that, introducing to you the unique character and sad life and his wonderful works and achievements. This presentation will include very brief biography, an introduction to a few of his works, my own critique and comparison of his work against other painters, and a conclusion. And I'm going to have to shorten his biography here. He was born in 1903 in Latvia, which was a part of Russian Empire. They had a particular kind of tolerance to persecution of Jews, and he was a Jew. Mark Rothko was a Jew, and it was such that he had to move to America. He was a keen learner. He was musically talented. The speaker of 4 languages by the time he was in middle school, so he got free education from Yale, but he dropped out because the culture there was too conservative. Simply put, it was too white for him. And he started painting from that point on. And he took classes from Art Student League of New York. He started getting involved by getting in circles, joining art unions, and getting involved in FDR period public projects and so on. But he was not a good painter in a traditional sense. I mean, if you look at that painting, it doesn't look like he's a professional. He looks more of like a hobbyist kind of person. But what makes him so great then? Well, Mark Rothko was an artist that was never influenced by trends. He was never painting to comment about the spirit of the time. He always created something that lasts forever. I mean, as far as theme is concerned. Rothko's themes are often viewed as timeless and even religious, walking the steps of other timeless artists such as Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Robert Hughes, the famous Australian art critic, had once said that he's the most complete painter on the theological wing of the New York school. His earliest painting looked like this: the scenes of Brooklyn Metro and Matisse influenced, but not Matisse-esque nudes. The era of abstract expressionism came in. Look at these paintings. This is by Jackson Pollock, Franz Klein, de Kooning. This was a period when emotions were directly unleashed on canvas instead of being symbolized by objects within the canvas. Categorically and temporarily, Rothko fits into this group, and they hung out together too. And there's Mark Rothko and Jackson Pollock. But his paintings are a little different. Even Barnett Newman's, which appeared closest to Rothko's, have too many visible brush dabbles, too much implication of expressionism through titles and style. Rothko's paintings were subtle, quiet, and meditative. He never wanted to express the kind of short-circuited emotions that are closer to animals. He wanted to express distinct human emotions. A few examples of his works. An English art critic, this is called a multiform. Simon Schama commented about his multiforms as such. Multiforms have a movement all of their own, swelling and dissolving, staining, sipping. Sometimes they seem to hover over a canvas, as if we're looking down from sky to a canvas, and they look pretty. These are the kind of things that Rothko is most famous for. Dor Ashton wrote an amazing analysis of his works, and he described these paintings as epic dramas because the scale was such that you don't really get to find the kind of visual resting point in it. So you kind of find the visual resting point, but by the time you find it, it's too late. So it kind of gives you an implication of kind of a tragedy, of having a mini tragedy of failing to find a visual resting point. By late 50s, he arrived at this. He traveled so far into his own psyche that he arrived into plain colors, sometimes two colors that are too close to each other to even distinguish. It's surprising how little the world has influenced him. By 60s, he traveled such a distance from the superficial, but the 60s were all about the superficiality. Look at the Andy Warhol there compared to Mark Rothko and the Rauschenberg's kind of a daily news painting thing. Well, despite his inability to ride the trend, Rothko had grown quite popular by the late 50s and 60s. His paintings were in places like AI of Chicago and Guggenheim, but Rothko was never a person to even be moved by this. Add another thing to his unique character, he had strange declination to success, and it was both his strong suit and weak point. For one thing, it helped his legacy, making him a respectable figure, and that was never spoiled by success. But he continued to be pressed, and so that's not good for him, I guess. In 1958, Rothko was commissioned to paint large murals in a restaurant called Four Seasons in the middle of Manhattan. After putting a long thought, he accepted this offer, which was like, this commission was in today's money about $1 million, but he ended up not going for it, and this like furthered his depression and whatnot. At his latest age, he started becoming a weaker personality. People were finding him easier to defeat in an argument and embarrass him. The increasing number of the price tags on his paintings made him feel like he had lost the battle against the art establishment. For whatever reason, Rothko killed himself. He had all kinds of health problems because of his bad smoking, drinking, and eating habits. And life was getting harder to live. He ended his second marriage, ended really badly. His art dealer was only trying to rip him off, so in February of 1970, he got high off prescribed antidepressants and sleep both through his wrists, and he killed himself. No, but his death was not in vain. The story of his life and the works had left this is working actively to achieve things that he could not. In Texas, as I mentioned, is a chapel that features many of his works, named Rothko Chapel. And he authored many books, such as Studies on Art and Artist Reality. In Broadway, the play called Red features his biography as a script demonstrating that his bleak life was a subject of art of its own. He once said that a picture lives by companionship, expanding and quickening in the eyes of the observer, and dies by the same token, too. The act of looking at a painting for the first time is the only thing that makes it meaningful, but the very thing is also the thing that makes the beholder not be excited and anticipated anymore. A black canvas representing our minds filled with indescribable emotions perhaps will never die, though, because this is not a new image. These emotions were something we have always had, and the black canvas is the representation of it. Thank you very much, everybody.
So Trey, what did you think?
That was dope. Good presentation all the way through. Pretty fluid.
Interesting topic. Yeah.